Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in to check out your boy, B-Funk Thinking, right? Out here in the lab, and I'm in the book. Speaking of books, we about to do the Library of Alexandria. I wasn't going to do it. I skipped over it. I him and home. No, I got to do it. This is, for a person who study, this is right down my alley. So this is going to be a good lesson. Hope you enjoy it. Let's go. Rightisms, 25 rules to live by. Storytelling, story with a message. There's a message in my stories for life. I give you life lessons. You tune in and receiving them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Excuse me. Right thinking mission is to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinking way of life through mental and spiritual discipline. Practice daily will help and guide you to obtain your goal of reaching spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission is that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, your goal is to know thyself. See where we're going with this? Let's get there together. So I asked the question, do you know you? You will when I'm through. That's what I do. It's rhetorical, but if you don't have the answer for yourself, tune in. I got you. A person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple. You can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. Appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believe and think that they know is dangerous, avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm a spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself and two. Might not be true. Right thinkers, the Library of Alexandria was said to have contained a copy of every scroll known to man. During its day, it was regarded as the most prestigious library in existence. And for a man who loved books, that's a hell of a title. I got to give them their props. And when I get finished, what you're gonna learn about this, you'll be giving them theirs too. So let's talk about the Library of Alexandria. In 295 BCE, King Ptolemy I, who was the successor for Alexander Numbnuts, aka the Great, issued a proclamation declaring that all the books of the world and the writings of all nations be placed within one repository in the city of Alexandria in Egypt. When you got that kind of power to make that kind of thing happen, that's what they're showing you, that he called on all his powers that be to do just that. And the Latin politician Winterus, a student of Aristotle's, was given the task of overseeing the administration of this vast educational complex, which consisted of a Monsignor, which is a research center. It also had a temple of Serapis. Now he's Yah Christ, the first Christ, Serapis. It's another lesson, but that's the Greek for Jesus. All right. But and the famed Library of Alexandria. It has been acknowledged by the Western scholars that this facility established the foundations for the systematic study of mathematics, physics, biology, astronomy, literature, geography, and medicine. It is because astronomy, literature, geography, and medicine, it is because of this heritage that many scientific, legal, and religious terms retain their original Latin names, even though it is now considered a dead language. Jews still practice and learn Latin for their bar mitzvahs, their language. But they still keep it alive. That's what they say. I understand that. I get it. Gotcha. But now the creation of this new center of learning, pay attention, was due in part to Alexander's conquering of Egypt. They try to give him credit for that. No, that was that before you got there, dude. Moving on. Alexander conquered of Egypt. And the closing of the numerous temples and universities that were situated along the Nile River. If you meant us good, why shut down the temple? He picked the one that he liked and chose that. Moving on. And you had hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls, information, which were taken to Alexandria, were then what? Translated, categorized into 10 subject areas, arranged alphabetically by author, and stored in a 10 research hall designated for specific fields of study. They had this thing already laid out with all the information. But now pay attention. More than 500,000 books were amassed during this period of 2 generations, right? And the number increased to more than 700,000 books. Some say it even succeeded 1 million. And for that time of day and time, that's a lot of information on papyrus and paper. So that made it what? Vulnerable. The library also contained an observatory, a dissecting room, I guess for the biology, a botanical garden, herbs, plants, a zoo, and numerous lecture halls. So it was a big place, to say the least. Yeah, of what? Information, knowledge, storage. In addition to the texts that were taken from Kemet, here I said Kemet, the Ptolemies allocated a tremendous sums of money for their librarians and to purchase books from where? From various parts of the known world. They wanted to house all the world's information. Biggest library ever. That was their goal. That was their plan way before Alexander got there. So let's get that out the way. So they've been doing this for a while. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's been building for a while. But commercial ships who land there, that dock there, in the thriving seaport of Alexandria, know what they did? Whoever came into their port, they would have their military search the ship for books, and they would confiscate them. Knowledge was always important. It always have been and always will be. He who controls the knowledge controls the narrative. It's been proven right here at the library. Right this. Now, agents were dispatched from Alexandria to other various countries where they were often purchased and acquired numerous books through various nefarious means. Not so much above and below. Okay, they were selling, they were buying it. Okay, black market style. Okay, willing and dealing, whatever you want to call it. But they was getting the information for the purpose of housing it and having it in one place for those who can come enjoy it. I remember going to the library, taking out books, library card. I remember that. John Henry Clark got upset because he couldn't get a library card. Oh no, my man Thomas, that's my man. And he went on the tear about knowledge and education. Love that guy. But that was the whole purpose. Information should be free for those who want it. That's it. Moving on. But the Egyptian historians, right? Historian Mustafa el-Abadi, he's the author of the Life and Fate of the Ancient Library of Alexandria. He stated that not all of the acquisitions were obtained honorably. Just keeping it real. For example, the Ptolemy III, okay, third generation Ptolemies, gave the city of Athens, Greece, a substantial amount of silver as collateral for what? For the safe and guaranteed return of the original manuscripts of the Eleusis, the Arapidas, and the Sophocles, which were all to be copied in Alexandria and then returned. Right? After the library, dictationists read the contents of the manuscripts to the scribes, and they made several copies of each. And now Ptolemy III pulled the flim-flam. He returned the copies and kept the originals. Okay? In Alexandria, much to the displeasure of the outraged Athenians. We've seen that before, okay? It's been going on since forever. When you give somebody what they want, they're going to pretty much do what they want with it and give you back what they want you to have. And they've done that too. All right, so I understand 100% how they, to their displeasure, they pissed off. But this is all in the frame of education, information. But now, watch this. To the dismay, the outrages that they did. Now, for more than 600 years, this site, Alexandria, the library, was a command center for the world's scientific culture development. Everybody came here. Remember this guy, Euclid? Okay? The first Euclid, who was reputed the father of mathematics, came to Egypt, to the library, Alexandria, studied in Alexandria, and later wrote the Principles of Mathematics, which was to have a profound impact when 2,000 years later on what? A 12-year-old kid by the name of Albert Einstein picked up the mantle and ran with it. Now, Heron, he invented gear, trains, and steam engines, and he also authored the first book on robotics called, was the Automato. Apollonius was a mathematician who also demonstrated the forms of the conic sections. What Hipparchus was also an astronomer who mapped the constellations and estimated the intensity of the stars. Galen, who dominated figure in the medical field, okay, his books on healing and anatomy were used until the European Renaissance. So the library was also a center for religious research. It was here is where Hellenized Jewish scholars produced the first Greek translation of the Old Testament that was called the Septuagint version of the Old Testament. They read it from Greeks for the Greeks, okay? Translated. Here's another famous word, Aristophanes, an Egyptian mathematical scientist and archaeologist, was one of the most famous alumni of this renowned educational center that everybody came and left and became famous. He rediscovered the formula for measuring the circumference of the earth when, after stumbling upon an ancient document taken from the Sumerian in Upper Egypt, Aristophanes was a master of many disciplines, as am I. In addition to his fame as an astronomer, and a philosopher, a historian, a poet, I don't do the poetry thing, and theater critic. I can criticize good, bad stuff in the theater. He was also head, here you go, right here. He was the head librarian of the Library of Alexandria. And there is no doubt that the access to all that accumulated wisdom and knowledge of the Nile Valley scholarship helped to create the foundation upon which scholars such as Aristophanes, Galen, Euclid, Diogenes, and hundreds of others stood on. That information gave everybody the knowledge that they needed to do what they did. The last great scholar affiliated with this famed University of Alexandria was, you know who? Probably never heard of him. Hypatia. Hypatia. Now, Hypatia, yes, female, was a true scientist in her own rights. Why? Having gained notoriety in the fields of mathematics, physics, astronomy, and philosophy, she was born in Alexandria in the year 370 ACE, some 400 years after Egypt had already been conquered by the Roman army. Her father was the famed Egyptian mathematician Theon, Theon, and Hypatia enjoyed many privileges unheard of for women in classic Greek society. They didn't respect the women. And Hypatia was at 21 years old when the university and its library was ordered destroyed by the Christian emperor Theodosius, who viewed the teachings of science, mathematics, and philosophy as anti-theatrical to the new religion which he was instituting, aka Christianity. Despite the threat of her close friendships, despite the threat of personal danger, Hypatia continued to teach, all right, and publish because of her close friendship with the Roman governor at the time. And these actions angered Cyril and the Archbishop of Alexandria, and in 415, pay attention, ACE, his monks encouraged an angry mob to attack Hypatia as she was riding through town. Sound familiar? We've been hearing about these mobs. They get together and just had their way with the people. Watch this. Now she was pulled from her chariot, and dragged into a church. Church is supposed to be a house of worship, house of prayer. Why would you drag somebody into a church? What's that? When she was stripped naked and her flesh was scraped from her body with oyster shells. What kind of people do that? What the hell is that? Her corpse was then burned along with all her writings, and Archbishop Cyril was made a saint for doing that. Let this sink in. That's inhumane to the highest of levels. And he became a saint for that? You got to be kidding me. The destruction of the library and the University of Alexandria extinguished the flame of knowledge that had been passed on to the Greeks and the Romans from our ancient Nile Valley civilization, Egyptians, Cometians, was now extinguished, so the nations of Europe would stumble in darkness for more than, you ready for this? They was in darkness in Europe for over 1,000 years before knowledge was brought to them during what? You ready for this one? The Moorish conquest. The Moors, which the black people, enlightened Europe. The Spanish, the Portuguese. Yeah. They ruled them for over 700 years. That's where they disdain for black people come from. Their ancestral hatred towards the black people who ruled them, educated them, enlightened them. That's the things that they gave us back. So it's been going that way for a long time. I want to get that out of the way because the Library of Information, they got everything on computers. They got this and or whatever, but they had the information. Now they give you all kinds of information, good, bad, and different. They don't care why. It's up to you to figure it out. That's the new game. Okay, don't hide it. No, we can't do it no more. Why? We in the information age. You gotta give it to them. So just give them everything. Everything but the kitchen sink. Everything but the truth. All that nonsense. But again, hope you got the good lesson. I enjoyed bringing this to you because I thought it was important. So again, right fingers in closing. May you all live to be 100. Me, 100 miles a day. So I never know my right thinkers who understand now about the importance of the Library of Alexandria have passed away. But this is good information. I'll be right back. You know what I do for you.